You're about to spend $1,000 or more on a new TV, and there's a very good chance you're going to make at least one of these 7 mistakes. I review TVs for a living, and I see people make the same costly errors over and over, buying the wrong size for their room, falling for specs that sound impressive but don't matter in real use, paying extra for features they'll never use. These mistakes aren't just annoying, they're expensive. We're talking about wasting hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on a TV that doesn't fit your needs or performs worse than a cheaper option would have. The good news? Every single one of these mistakes is completely avoidable once you know what to look for. I'm going to walk you through the 7 biggest TV buying mistakes, explain exactly why they cost you money, and show you how to avoid them. By the end of this video, you'll know how to buy the right TV for your room and your budget without wasting a single dollar. Let's start with mistake number 7. Mistake number 7, buying based on size alone. This is where people think bigger is always better, and it ends up costing them hundreds of dollars they didn't need to spend. Here's what happens. You walk into a store and see a 75-inch TV for just $200 more than the 65-inch. Your brain says bigger equals better value, so you buy the 75-inch without thinking about your actual room. But here's the problem. TV size isn't about what looks impressive, it's about viewing distance. If you sit too close to a TV that's too big, you'll see individual pixels. Your eyes will strain. You'll get headaches during long viewing sessions. Here's the formula that actually matters. Measure your seating distance from the TV. If you sit 8 feet away, a 55 to 65-inch TV is ideal. If you sit 10 feet away, you want 65 to 75 inches. 12 feet or more, then 75 to 85 inches makes sense. My brother made this exact mistake. He bought an 85-inch TV because it was on sale, but he sits 8 feet away in a medium-sized living room. That TV is way too big for his space. He could have saved $500 on a 65-inch and had a much better viewing experience. Here's what to do before you buy. Measure the distance from your couch to where the TV will be. Use that number to pick your screen size, not the size of your wall. Bottom line, don't buy the biggest TV your budget allows. Buy the right size TV for your viewing distance. But mistake 6 costs even more because it tricks you during the buying process. Mistake number 6, falling for Black Friday doorbuster deals. This is where people think they're getting an incredible bargain, but they're actually buying a cheaper version of the TV they wanted. Here's what happens. Black Friday comes around and you see a Samsung 65-inch 4K TV for $400 off. It looks like the same model you've been researching. Same brand, similar name. You rush to buy it thinking you got the deal of the year. But here's what TV manufacturers don't tell you. Many Black Friday TVs are special models made specifically for that sale. They look similar to regular models, but they have cheaper panels, fewer features, and lower specs. People have noticed this online. On Reddit, buyers pointed out that Black Friday TVs often have different model numbers, sometimes just one letter or digit different, that mean lower specs and cheaper components than the standard version they researched. Check the model number closely. The regular model might be something like ABC123. The Black Friday version, ABC125, or ABC123B. That small change means a completely different TV inside. What's the difference? The Black Friday version might have a cheaper panel, no local dimming, lower brightness, no 120 Hz for gaming, fewer ports, cheaper components. You save $200 up front. But you got a TV worth $400 less than the regular model. You actually lost money. Here's what to do. Check the exact model number against regular retail models. Google it. Read reviews. If it only shows up during Black Friday sales, it's probably a budget version made just for the promotion. Bottom line, don't buy a TV just because it's cheap on Black Friday. Make sure it's the actual model you want, not a cheaper version. But mistake 5 happens right in the store and convinces you to buy the wrong TV. Mistake number 5, trusting in-store display picture quality. This is where you see a TV that looks amazing in the store. Buy it, bring it home, and wonder why it looks completely different. Here's what happens. You walk into Best Buy or a showroom. The TVs are lined up on a wall showing demo content. One TV catches your eye. The colors pop, everything looks bright and vibrant. You think that's the best TV, so you buy it. But here's the problem. Those TVs are set to store demo mode. Picture mode is cranked to vivid. Brightness is maxed out. Contrast is jacked up. Colors are oversaturated. Everything is configured to grab your attention under bright fluorescent store lighting. A former TV salesperson on Reddit even explained how this works. The demo content is edited specifically for those display conditions. The images are optimized to look good under store lighting, not in your living room. Your living room is nothing like a store. You don't have fluorescent lights blasting down. You're not comparing 20 TVs side by side. The settings that looked great in the store look terrible at home. You get your TV home and something feels off. Colors look fake. Everything is too blue. Bright scenes are blown out. Your eyes hurt after 30 minutes. That's store mode designed for retail showrooms, not actual viewing. Here's what you should do. Ask the salesperson to switch the picture mode to movie or cinema mode. That's closer to how it'll look in your home. Better yet, check professional reviews from sites that test TVs in controlled environments. They'll tell you about brightness, contrast, and color accuracy. Bottom line, never buy a TV based only on how it looks in store demo mode. Those settings are designed to sell TVs, not give you accurate picture quality. But mistake 4 is even more expensive, because you're paying for features you'll literally never use. Mistake number 4, paying extra for features you'll never use. This is where TV manufacturers load up models with impressive sounding features that add hundreds to the price, but sit completely unused after the first week. Here's what happens. You're comparing two TVs. One costs $600 more and has built-in cameras, voice control, fitness apps, and gesture recognition. The salesperson tells you it's a smart investment. More features equals better value, right? Wrong. Most of these premium features get used once and then forgotten. Built-in cameras? You'll try video calling once. Then you'll realize sitting 10 feet away makes you look tiny on screen. The audio echoes. You'll go back to using your phone and never touch that camera again. Voice control and gesture recognition? Waving your hand to change channels is painfully slow. The TV misreads gestures constantly. After a few frustrating attempts, you'll forget it exists. Fitness apps built into your TV? You might try one workout. Then you'll realize your phone is way more convenient. The TV apps are clunky and you can't move them to different rooms. Art mode on non-frame TVs? It displays photos when the TV is off, but it keeps your TV on standby all day using electricity. And how often do you actually stare at your turned-off TV? Here's the reality. You're paying an extra $500 to $1,000 for features you'll use once or never. Know what actually matters? Picture quality, brightness, contrast, panel type. Those affect what you see every single time you turn on your TV. Bottom line, don't pay for feature lists. Pay for core picture quality that you'll benefit from every day. But mistake 3 is costing people serious money because it sounds technical and important. Mistake number 3, ignoring peak brightness specs. This is the HDR trap, and it's costing people hundreds of dollars on TVs that claim to have HDR but can't actually display it. Here's what happens. You're shopping for a TV and see HDR 10 Plus and Dolby Vision on the box. One costs $400, the other costs $600. They both support HDR, so you pick the cheaper one thinking HDR is HDR. Most people don't know. Not all TVs can actually display real HDR, even if the box says they support it. Real HDR needs brightness, a lot of it. Mid-range and premium TVs hit 600 to 1,000 nits or more. That's what makes HDR look amazing, those bright, punchy highlights. But budget TVs under $500? Most only reach 250 to 350 nits. Some barely hit 200. That's the same brightness as regular non-HDR content. The TV accepts the HDR signal, but it physically cannot get bright enough to show you what HDR is supposed to look like. What happens when you play HDR content on these budget TVs? Everything looks dim and flat. Fireworks that should pop look gray. Sunlight that should be dazzling looks dull. Bright explosions have no impact. The whole point of HDR, bright highlights and deep shadows, is completely missing. You're paying for Netflix Premium with HDR. You're streaming HDR content on Disney+, but your $400 TV is showing you something that actually looks worse than if it just played regular SDR content properly. Here's what you need to do. Before buying any TV that advertises HDR, check the peak brightness in professional reviews. Look for at least 400 to 500 nits minimum on budget TVs. 600 nits or more if you actually want good HDR. Bottom line, don't buy a TV just because the box says HDR. Check if it's actually bright enough to display HDR properly. But mistake 2 tricks people into thinking they're getting a great deal on a premium TV. Mistake number 2, not reading real user reviews before you buy. This is where people trust the spec sheet and marketing claims without checking what actual owners are saying about the TV. Here's what happens. You're comparing two TVs online. Both have the same specs, same resolution, same HDR support, same refresh rate. One costs $800, the other costs $1,200. The specs look identical, so why not save $400? You buy the cheaper one based on specs alone. It arrives, you set it up, and within the first week, you realize something is very wrong. The interface is painfully slow. It takes 5 seconds to open an app. The remote is unresponsive. Apps crash randomly. The software is buggy and freezing constantly. But here's what makes it worse. Fast motion looks stuttery, even though the specs say 120 Hz. Dark scenes have terrible uniformity, with patches across the screen. The upscaling makes content look worse than it should. None of this shows up on the spec sheet. But if you had checked real user reviews, you would have seen hundreds of people complaining about these exact issues. Here's what actually matters. Two TVs can have identical specs, but completely different real-world performance. Processing quality, software optimization, quality control, none of that shows up in a spec comparison. This was actually the second mistake my brother made. He compared specs, bought the cheaper option, and within 2 weeks he was dealing with constant crashes and laggy performance. He could have avoided it by reading what actual owners were saying. Here's what you should do. Check professional reviews from sites that test TVs. Read verified buyer reviews. Check Reddit discussions. If you see patterns of complaints, believe them. Bottom line, specs tell you what a TV should do. Real user reviews tell you what it actually does. Never skip the research. But mistake one is the most expensive of all, because it affects your viewing experience every single day. Mistake number 1. Not checking panel type for your room. This is the most expensive mistake because you can spend $2,000 on a great TV that's completely wrong for your viewing environment. Here's what happens. You research TVs, you read reviews, you find a highly rated model with amazing picture quality. Everyone says it's incredible. You buy it, set it up, and it looks terrible in your room. But the TV isn't bad. It's just the wrong panel type for your space. There are 3 main panel types, and each one works best in different environments. VA panels have incredible contrast and deep blacks. They look stunning in dark rooms, but they have narrow viewing angles. If you sit off to the side, colors shift and contrast drops. And in bright rooms with windows, they show a lot of glare and reflections. IPS panels have wide viewing angles. You can sit anywhere and colors stay accurate. They handle bright rooms much better with less glare. But the blacks look washed out and grayish. Contrast is weak. Dark movie scenes look flat instead of deep. OLED has perfect blacks and incredible contrast. Colors are stunning, but it's expensive and has burn-in risk if you watch the same content repeatedly. And in very bright rooms with lots of sunlight, OLED doesn't get bright enough to fight the glare. Here's the mistake people make. They buy an OLED for a living room with huge windows and afternoon sun. The TV looks washed out and dim. Or they buy a VA panel for a family room where everyone sits at different angles. Half the family can't see the picture properly. You just spent $1,500 to $2,000 on a TV that doesn't work for your actual room. Here's what you should do before buying. Look at your room. Is it dark most of the time? Bright with lots of windows? Do you have wide seating or does everyone sit center? Dark room with center seating? VA panel or OLED? Bright room with windows? IPS or QLED? Wide seating with off-center viewing? IPS panel. Large, bright room where you want the best of both? Mini LED with QLED. Bottom line, the best TV on paper means nothing if it's the wrong panel type for your room. Match the panel to your environment first. Those are the 7 mistakes that cost people thousands.